and thanks for joining me. We're off round Yorkshire and we'll take in a mix of tiny villages and larger towns today. It's in an area where all the internal borders of the county converge, so we'll be passing through South, West, North and East Yorkshire on this ramble. We've come up the hill from Asken and we're just skirting to the east side of Campsall, and we'll be taking the turn off for Norton. I'm on Harold, the Royal Enfield's Himalayan again, but you've probably already spotted that we've got a bit of a different view now. I got fed up with the wind buffeting caused by the tall windscreen, and after a bit of experimentation I found this cut down replacement one works better for me. Some of you have also commented on the exhaust sound as well, and that's something else I've recently changed. It's now fitted with an Enfield precision silencer to give him a bit better sound. The village of Norton is quite old, and it is mentioned in the Domesday Book. There was a priory here, but after the dissolution of the monasteries in 1588 it was demolished. There was also a very nice manor house, but that was demolished in the 1970s. Unfortunately, the same fate befell several of the older houses, and new builds filled in the gaps. I'm doing a U-turn here because there's a little bit of old village history preserved on somebody's drive that I just want to check out before we carry on north. It's the old village water pump that's survived, and it's tucked away here at the side of these houses. It was mainly an agricultural area till the opening of Asken Colliery just down the road, and in the early 1900s some housing and a pub, the Royal Hotel here on the corner, was built for the pit workers, though this was originally left in red brick. We're turning right and heading out the village now. On our left here's the site of the old medieval manor house. There has been redevelopment on the site over the years, but there's still extensive earthworks and buried remains, and it's a scheduled monument. Also on the site is Priory Mill, and there's remains of the old mill pond and the watercourse that fed from the River Went just over the back. There's still loads of water sitting on the roads and in the land in general. This is Tampit Bridge, and it takes us over the River Went. It's a bit busy today. We've just passed into North Yorkshire. There's the remains of an old medieval cross at the junction here. Only the base left now, but it's grade 2 listed. Passing through the tiny village of Walden Stubs now. Blink and you'll miss it. The name comes from either Old German, Walden, or the Old English, son of Walder. The second bit, Stubbs, is the Old English for tree stumps. As we leave the village, there's Stubbs Hall behind the hedge on our right, and parts of it date from the 1600s. This is Womersley now, and I've covered this lovely village in a previous video. We're turning right here, and we've got the 1840s village pump and a medieval cross base on the corner. Just out of Womersley, and on the right here, we've got the Blue Lagoon. I'm going to pull in and take a look. It's used for several water-based activities. The Asken Radio Sailing Club uses it for its boats, and as it's a weekend, there's some out sailing today. It's used for open water swimming and also scuba diving. And there's submerged stuff to swim to, including a Hawker Hunter jet plane. The plane over there on the shore is another ex-Royal Navy Hawker Hunter. We're turning right now to go to Kidling Stubs. Now, this tiny village is probably best known for the discovery of the Kidling Stubs hoard in 1967. Traces of it were first found by a farm worker in October of that year. Later in the month, the Royal Commission on the Historical Monuments of England did an excavation and uncovered the full hoard. It was a ceramic jar that held over 3,300 bronze coins dating from Roman times. It was on display in Leeds City Museum at one time. We're heading across at the crossroads here, going towards Darington. We've come into West Yorkshire now. That's the A1 over there. Glad I'm not sat in that queue. But we're turning left down to Darington. Darington's recorded in the Domesday Book as Darnington. The name means the town of Degherds people. There's a nice old church just off the main road as well. We'll go and take a look. This is the church of St Luke and All Saints, and I'm including this one especially for Steve over in chilly Switzerland. We had a conversation recently about listed buildings. So, hi Steve, if you're watching. Unlike the vast majority of listed buildings in the UK, this is one of the 2.5% that's Grade 1 listed. It dates from the 13th century. There's also a set of mountain steps by the wall. They're thought to be 18th century. Just a quick word about the grading system, as I mention it a lot. In England and Wales, structures of particular architectural and or historic interest deserving of special protection are classified as one of three grades: 1, 2-star and 2, with 1 being the most important. There's about 400,000 listed structures. Around 98% are grade 2, 5.5% are grade 2-star and only 2.5% grade 1. Scotland and Northern Ireland have their own slightly different systems. We're heading into Pontefract now. This is a large market town with a long and varied history, and there's evidence of settlements in this area right back to Neolithic times. The way it's thought to have got its name is quite interesting. In 1069, William the Conqueror, together with a small army, was on his way to York to put down an uprising. When he got to what's now Pontefract, he found the bridge that crossed the river had been smashed and blockaded to stop him getting through. The name comes from the Latin pons for bridge and fractus for broken. It doesn't appear in the Domesday Book that, as we all know, was compiled for William only 17 years later. At that time it was two separate settlements called Tanshelf and Kirkby, which do appear in it. It was recorded in a slightly later survey as Pontefracto. In Roman times it sat on a main Roman road that's now the A639. This is Pontefract Castle up on the hill to our left. We'll ride round and up to the visitors' centre. Construction started around 1170 by Ilbert de Lacy on land given to him by William the Conqueror, and it's recorded in the Domesday Book as Ilbert's Castle. There's evidence of an earlier castle here, built from wood. It was a large and impressive building with many royal connections. Several kings of England stayed here at times, and Richard II was imprisoned and put to death here after he was deposed by Henry IV in the year 1400. During the English Civil War, it was a royalist stronghold, and Oliver Cromwell laid siege to it 3 times. He called it one of the strongest inland garrisons in the kingdom. It suffered structural damage during the sieges, and one of the towers actually collapsed due to artillery fire and mining under foundations. It finally fell to the parliamentarians in 1649. Shortly after, the townspeople of Pontefract petitioned Parliament for the slighting of the castle on the grounds that it was simply a magnet for trouble. Slighting was the deliberate demolition of an important building to reduce its value as either a military or administrative structure. Demolition began in 1649 and the materials were sold off. Only a small portion still remains on the hill, but it's open to visitors. Now, I've barely touched the history of it here, so it's well worth a visit if you're in the area. Right next door to the castle's the Church of All Saints. This dates from the 14th century and it's a grade 2 star, so not quite grade 1 but more important than a grade 2. As it was right next to the castle, it played a big part in the various sieges during the English Civil War, and much of the damage was done at that time. By the end of the war, it was pretty much in ruin. A new brick-built church was built inside the ruins in 1960s. You can only see the new structure if you look in from the front end of the ruins, so you don't really know it's there. As we're heading out of Pontefract, there's a little detour up Water Lane to find an old mill. That's it, straight ahead at the top of the hill. This is Dambi Mill and it dates from 1819 and it's the last surviving mill in Pontefract. It was wind powered till 1922, then by a gas engine till 1941. It's grade 2 listed. I'll go up under the bridge to turn round, but it does look a bit flooded here. Two bridges here are the M62 first, then the A1M. We're at the town of Nottingley now. Nottingley means the clearing of Cnotter's people. Cnotter, a person's name, Ingus, people of, and Lear was a wood. The white building ahead there, that's the old town hall. On the left here it's an impressive war memorial with a bronze statue on top. That's grade 2 listed. This is the Church of St Botolph. Now that's an unusual name, but we came across another one in a previous ramble through Allerthorpe near Pocklington. This one was built in 1750 on the site of an earlier Norman chapel. The town sits on the River Aire, and in its early history it was an important inland river port. That changed in 1699 though, when the river was made navigable as far as Leeds, and that city took over. There was a big boat building industry here that built and repaired both inland and sea-going ships, and that carried on into the 20th century. In the late 1800s, glassmaking came to the town, and one of the glassworks, Bagley's, had the first ever bottle making machine. Interestingly, the machine was invented by the postmaster from Ferrybridge. There was also a good pottery industry till the 1940s, when the main factory closed. This is the Air and Cold navigation we're going over. This opened in 1704 and opened up access to much more of the country by boat. Back onto the A645 now, heading east, and this bridge takes us back over the Air and Cold navigation. We're at Kellingley now, home of Kellingley Colliery, or the Big K as it was sometimes known. This was quite a recent bit, opening in 1965 after 5 years' work sinking the shafts. It's what was classed as a deep mine, and the shafts went down about 800 metres. Many of the miners moved here from Scotland after losing their jobs at the Scottish pits that closed in the 1960s. It closed in 2015. Near the site there was a large memorial with a big bronze plaque remembering the 17 men who lost their lives during the pit's history. But it was later moved to the Yorkshire Mining Museum at Wakefield. I'm heading back now. We're going through Eggborough and Snaith, so I'll wrap this trip up here. Hope you found it interesting. Please leave a like if in fact you did, and a comment. I always try and answer them. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my ramblings, and hit the notification button. Hope to catch you on the next one. So cheers for now.